How's it going, guys? It's Eclipse here, and today we've got a really funny video for you guys to have a look at. We've got the T95, otherwise known as the Doom Turtle, the Zoom Turtle, the Turtle, basically the Tier 9 American TD. We've got two of them. We were platooned up at the end of the game, basically carrying the game in a really clutch situation, and we managed to come out on top, picking up the win and having an absolute laugh whilst we did it. So I thought you guys might want to see it, and hopefully you do enjoy. Basically, we'll cover what the tank's about and what sort of things you can expect from the T95, the tank line that leads up to it and stuff like that, and then we'll have some more gameplay at the end of this one if you guys want to watch some more on this kind of tank and its playstyle. Now, first off, we are on steps. This is the initial replay, which I thought was really funny. You can obviously see me, and on the left, this is my friend's recording of this from his perspective, because I wasn't recording, and I thought that, you know, I wanted to get an actual decent recording of first person rather than the spectator mode, which is kind of a bit terrible on World of Tanks console. I really don't like the spectator mode, and it does really ruin videos if you don't manage to pick them up within the actual game live. Now, there's three of us in a platoon. We've got the Tier 9 Centurion, we've got and two T95s. Centurion 7/1 is an alright tank, but it's not amazing. We picked up someone from the YouTube as well to be able to play, so that's who they are. We've basically having to move down this flank because it is kind of the only area where you can really move up quickly and get damage off straight away in the game in a T95. It's not particularly a fast tank. You know, you're going to be going maximum of 20 kilometers an hour in this thing, which is absolutely terrible, and you're not going to be able to relocate after you've committed to one flank unless you have about 3 minutes to turn around, and that takes about a minute in itself. So you can see we've moved up into this position. It's taken us like 2 minutes already just to get here, and we're working hard on trying to conserve our hit points, because the real winner of this tank, or the way that you can actually have really good games, is actually surviving till the end. You kind of got to hope that your team don't rush too hard, or the enemy team don't rush too hard, and you don't come away with a massive loss. You see both of us there. We tried to snap the 1390, didn't work. I'm not that surprised, but yeah, we are going to try and get some shots off now the opponents. The real funny thing comes at the end of the game when it's a 2 versus 6 situation, which we'll see very shortly. Yeah, it's just crazy. So what setup did I go with in my T95? Well, at this recording, I did actually have the 120mm, the 400 alpha damage gun. Ted here is using the 155mm gun with 750 alpha. That's the way better gun. You can just have more consistent games, and you know, when you're only dealing 400 damage in a tank, yeah, it's not particularly great when you are that slow. So yeah, we've had some brilliant games in the T95, but it is one of those tanks that's so situational where, you know, you can have really fantastic games, but you have to be in the right situation. If your team win too hard, if your team decide that they're going to lose too hard, or if your team push too hard on one flank that you decided to go down, where, you know, you never actually make it towards any damage, you can have really terrible games, you know, and you're getting 1 or 2 shots off in the entire game before you either get taken out or before your team just win the game straight up. So you see here, we've only done 2 shots of damage in total, 1337 damage with 558 blocked. And the one good thing about this tank is you can actually block a lot of damage. The armour actually works, which can't be said for very many tanks in this game, and it certainly can't be said for many TDs in the game either. This tank's armour from the front does work unless you're coming up against higher tier or similar tier TDs premium rounds, and they're aiming for the weakest point of this tank. Now, the weakest point is the lower plate or the cupolas of this tank. Similarly, the side of the tank is also not great. But yeah, it can certainly pull off some really good bounces against things like Jaegeroos if they don't aim correctly. And yeah, it can be really good. The one problem I do have with this tank is the turning circle and the fact that it is non-turreted, and it can be a real shame. But if you're in a platoon with confident platoon mates that know what they're doing, that are able to actually use their armour effectively, use your hit points and use you as kind of a battering ram, that's what these tanks can do. When you're working in cohesion, they're always better, and that kind of works for every single game. You know, you'll be able to do far better if you work in a cohesive platoon rather than on your own. This tank really doesn't suit playing on your own because it is just so slow, and you're not really able to do very much. You see, Ted gets unlucky there. He only tracks the 1390, which just leaves him on a really annoying amount of hit points, and also it means that he could potentially get round behind us and clip us in the back. So both of us are searching for that 1390, trying to get him out of the game because he is probably one of the most important ones to get out. You saw the round fly past the screen there from the right. We don't know who it is as of the moment of this video, but you did see them, so that's why we keep looking over to the right and stuff like that in game to ensure that, you know, that doesn't happen, or that we don't get shot in the side. We've now blocked 1300 damage, which is a decent amount. That's nearly blocking the full total hit points of the tank that we are in. It's a 3 versus 7 at the moment, which is not looking great for either of us, and it certainly won't look any better in a minute when our teammate gets shut down out of this game. You see, I missed the shot on the 1390 there, which is a real pain. We've got a teammate in a TD behind us, not entirely sure what it was, maybe a Jagdpanther or something like that. I don't know if we'll actually look at him later on. But you see that this Object 777 version 2 is now moving up, and what you can do in this tank is use the gun depression, because it does get us a little bit of gun depression, and because it's so low profile, it means that people find it really hard to hit you over ridgeline and pen, because you just are that small and low profile. Not necessarily small, but you definitely are decently like low profile, with your meatiest armour being at the top, except from those cupolas, which are the weak spot, and that's what you want to aim for if you meet a hold down T95. So this game's looking slightly better. It's a 3 versus 6 now, and we can actually potentially win, although our teammate there in the Diamondback gets shut down by the Object 777 version 2, and it leaves us in an awful 2 versus 6 situation against multiple autoloaders, against a TD, against a full health Object 777 version 2. You see Ted uses his knowledge of the weakest point of the tank, which is its back, pushes himself up against the ridgeline, and yeah, really works it. Unfortunately, Ted auto-aims the KPZ. Really shouldn't have done that. Should have probably just aimed that one to make sure that it goes in. Probably thought the penetration on this rounds are decent enough, as you see that we hit him there. The Batchat AP now comes in to try and take him out. Ted puts one good round into the front of the 777 version 2. You see what I'm doing back there? I'm angling my back towards the Batchat AP. He's firing HE for some awful, God knows why reason, and then he goes away with his tail between his legs. And then what happens is I'm getting rushed now by 2 tanks. You see that I'm so slow. Now there's 3. The Centurion over there shoots. Ted shuts down the KPZ. The AMX CDA now moves on. I think he has 2 marks in his CDA, if I'm right in thinking. He's now got behind Ted, so he's thinking he's going to be able to deal damage to him behind. I'm currently dealing with a Batchat AP, or a Centurion even. I think I actually decide on rushing the Centurion to make sure that I can actually get him out of the game, as Ted backs up to try and give me a little bit more cover as we shut down the Centurion. You see that the Batchat AP rams me for some reason. Obviously doesn't know that I weigh an absolute ton, and you should never ram the T95. The AMX CDA is now crapping his pants, thinking, oh god, we've just thrown a 6 versus 2 against 2 T95s that genuinely cannot move. Ted puts one solid round into him, and I shut down the Tiger 2, who decided he's going to try and cap. Yeah, could have really helped his team out there, but instead he loses the game along with the rest of his team, and we managed to pick up a victory in a situation where we genuinely thought that that was no way that we'd come out. Left us feeling pretty good. 4,600 damage for Ted. I think I picked up 3,400 damage, 8 kills between us. Ted got a 95%. I expect I didn't get anywhere near that, but yeah, a really nice game to see, and one that you don't get very often. So yeah, really excited about that one, and I'm glad that we managed to pick up the victory in a situation like that. So what do I think about the T95? I think it's pretty good, but it is quite a frustrating tank to play because it's just got that armour that, yeah, it works. Premium rounds do go through it if people just fire them, and also you just get the case of you're just so slow that if your team wins too quick, it genuinely feels like a loss because you have done nothing, and there's no chance of you getting any more damage if your team push the flank that you're on and they're in fairly fast tank. So we'll move on to the next piece of gameplay, because I thought that, having a couple gameplays in this would kind of give you an idea as to the T95. I would definitely say the T95 is better than the T110E3 at tier 10. The T110E3 just gets penned by premium rounds because its lower plate is just, although being stronger than the E4 and the rest of the tier 10 tank destroyers of the American line, it just does get penned by the premium rounds of pretty much everything, and its armour doesn't really hold up anywhere near as good as the T95 tier for tier. Certainly isn't a tank that I would ever really recommend to anyone. Plus, the cheeks of the T110E3 can actually be penned as well if you've got that super high penetration. So it really feels like you've traded your turret for absolutely no reason, and that you've just made yourself slower. It's just a worse E4 in my opinion, and certainly isn't one I would ever recommend to anyone to pick up as part of this T110E3 operation. As for the second game of the video, we are on Fisherman's Bay. I'm in the T95. I'm also playing with Ted, but he's playing the Type 4 Heavy, the tier 9 Japanese heavy tank. Really not a good one either. Both playing pretty terrible tanks to be able to carry games in, but we're giving it a go. I've decided to whack the eyes on this tank. We've got 2 marks currently. I probably will go for my 3rd mark. Whether I'll actually get it or not is a different story. But yeah, we're going to try and pick up early damage here on the Rheinmetall Panzerwagen, who has decided that apparently going through the middle when the whole entire enemy team are actually just been deployed in their base is a good idea. It wasn't. We've taken out 686 of his hit points with 1 shot. Remember, the alpha damage of this tank is 750, but that never actually happens because it's just that terrible in terms of being able to pick up that much damage. I tried to hit the Rheinmetall because I thought he was going forward, but unfortunately he turns there to go the other way. Now, in the T95 I was going to go over to the B3 line to sit over there and use my vision range, but I decided because the majority of the hit points on the enemy team were actually in the town, we're going to relocate and actually go for the F8 and F9 position to be able to get some more damage and use this this slab of hit points that I do have and this absolutely ruffle stomp gun to be able to take the opponents out. Now, with the gun that has a 750 alpha, you'd expect it to be a fairly long reload, but considering the alpha and the actual caliber of the gun, the reload is actually only 12 seconds, which is fantastic, absolutely fantastic for a tank like this, and you can definitely put out some crazy DPM numbers. I think that the T95 can probably put out about 4,000 DPM when you consider it does 750 every 12 seconds. I think that's an average of 5 rounds a minute, which 5 lots are probably looking in the region of 4,000 DPM. Not quite, but just under. And for a TD, you can, which you can actually pull out around corners. That's fantastic. We noticed the Progetto is having crap to the brain. He's decided that he's going to come and try and YOLO me, auto-aiming me in the T95, which I would never ever recommend. always great when you auto-aim a heavily armoured tank, where the auto-aim position is the mantlet. So never auto-aim a T-95, especially from the front. Always aim your shots. Definitely don't auto-aim. Now, you see we've taken about 3 or 4 or 5 shots and we've not even lost a single hit point of damage this game, which is kind of the recurring theme of the T-95, and certainly something that I enjoy. And when you know to angle your front towards different people, you can have some really good games. Now, in terms of this game, I'm kind of thinking that we're going to win. That's why I'm moving over this side. This is where the hit points have now gone after we've wiped out the heavy tanks on the left. From where I'm looking, that's where the majority of my team is as well. So I'm going to go and support these mediums and this tank destroyer that are pushing up on the E1 area of the map. Now, unfortunately, our Badger gets taken out by the T-92, leaving there only to be 2 tanks over the right hand side against pretty much their entire team, bar 1 tank destroyer, which is the YAG Panzer E100, holding up pretty much all of our team on his own. So I give him props because, to be fair, he was in a good position, managed to avoid our team pushing up to help our mediums that have pushed up on that flank as well. So far my game is pretty tragic. It's not a good one. I've managed to pen 2 shots. I've got 265 assistance damage, which is absolutely nothing, and certainly not a game I'd want to be having when I'm going for my 3rd mark in this tank. I try and hit the Rheinmetall Panzerwagen as I get hit by something, blocking 1000 damage, which must have been the FV4005, who decided he's going to take a shot on my cupola and only actually damage my viewport, which is something that I enjoy about the American tanks. So what can we do here now? We've got to put some pressure on the opponents, try and spot them, otherwise we're not going to do too much. So I hit this FV4005 for 600, and then I'm going to pull right back because I don't fancy getting hit by 2 Death Stars or Death Star equivalents in this tank, because you know their penetration on their premium or their AP rounds is actually enough to go through my tank if they actually hit the correct spots. So yeah, I'm kind of a bit hesitant. There is a medium tank behind me. I don't know what he was deciding in this game, but this is something I'd like to highlight, is that the medium tank should be really trying to spot for both me and Ted and the whole rest of our team that are sat there waiting for some targets to hit, along with the 2 artillery, and that is really frustrating for every single person on the team. The M48A2 pattern, I believe it is, the 120mm one, that really should be using its vision to be able to outspot the opponents, or at least just spot the opponents for us to all shoot at. We do have the advantage here, but unfortunately no one's actually prepared to do anything about it, and I certainly am starting to think I need to be the one that actually pushes here to be able to give us that advantage of being able to see the enemy tanks, because pushing into 2 1100 alpha damage guns is never fun, no matter what tank you're in, especially when they have that high penetration. I tried to put 1 shot into blind into the FV4005 there because I felt like I needed to do something, you know, try and get that shot, because it was more than likely we're going to be able to. Now, I'm not putting my gun up in the air for no reason. I am actually trying to avoid the enemy tanks from being able to shoot my cupola. If I stick it up high enough, it will actually block the shot on my cupola if I line it up correctly. So it's just an extra precaution of avoiding being shot in the cupola. So at this time I'm thinking, right, I'm not prepared to just keep losing teammates to this medium who's not actually doing anything. I ping him to try and tell him to start moving because he's doing absolutely jack all over there. So yeah, we're now moving up to spot the opponents in the T-95, because you know it is a light tank and all of that. Now we spot the FV over here, who's decided he's going to try and take out some teammates by using the bush mechanics and stuff like that. But unfortunately for him, we have much better view range, as you can see, when I'm stationary, because I have all of the perks on to improve that. Now at this point I need to push, because no one's actually spotting reliably. No one's going to be able to do very much. This FV4005 decides he's not actually going to aim, and he's just going to shoot into the sky for some reason. Obviously thought there was something better to shoot at. So yeah, we managed to put one into him, and he doesn't do anything back to us. Ted manages to actually hit one of the FV4005s for a decent chunk of hit points with his HE round, I think it was, meaning that we are actually on 1800 spotting assist, which is always good for my marks of excellence, especially when I'm so close to 90%. Getting spotting damage can really boost you up a hell of a lot. Now this FV4005 tries to hit us. You see I'm whacking my cupola up or my gun up in the air to avoid being hit in the cupola. It doesn't work because he misses, but it might well do later on. I realise the hard case is going, but I see him actually coming back up, so we aim one, put one straight into him, and he bounces right off of the side of our hull, which is always fun when you're in the T95, when people don't actually know the weak points and when they can't actually take you out effectively. We put one shot into the 140's tracks, tracking him and putting him in place, and then we're just going to be aggressive and not allow him to give any time to be able to compose himself, and we're going to shut him down right here with an auto aim. And there you go, we managed to pick up 5,288 damage in this game, from a game where I thought we were probably not going to do very much. So yeah, I really enjoyed that game, really got a decent amount of combined damage, which meant I could go up on my marks of excellence. 5,288 damage, 1916 base XP, and we managed to pick up 3,146 spotting damage and 1 kill. Unfortunately, Ted managed to pick up most of the kills in that game, meaning that we probably didn't push that 2,000 base XP mark that we could have done if we did manage to pick them up. Other than that, that's pretty much showcasing the T95. Definitely don't go down this line if you want your sanity, if you want to maintain your sanity at least, and unless you like the look of it, because it is a novel tank, but don't think you're going to be having games like that every single game. Often you do get penned, and this thing is a massive slab for artillery to just derp on you, and you lose 90% of your hit points there. Other than that, I hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you want to look at some other gameplay on World of Tanks console, you can do that on the video link on screen right now. Other than that, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I hope to see you in the next video. Goodbye.